Pause before symptom with your host, James Garner.
Trump's White House ballroom, ritual revelation, and the final dance of Babylon. Yeah, they really think the Messiah's coming. Stick around. Welcome to Cause Before Symptom. I'm your host, James Garner. Today is October 25th, 2025. Tonight's episode is all about Trump's ballroom. And oh my God, it is full of esoteric nonsense. All satanic to the core. There's a reason why they're building it, because they're birthing a new world order. That's just what I think. Anyway, very interesting information coming up. Shout out to everybody on the live chat Rumble. We've got Boots Hafner, #1 warrior, says, warriors, come out and pray, yay. Time to learn about our enemies. Hello, Pastor James Carnage of the airwaves and Warrior Fellowship. And new listeners, if you could, do us a favor, hit that thumbs up button. Yes, hit the thumbs up button because Rumble only judges me based on how many likes I get and not how many subscribers I have. You will help me greatly by hitting the X, then hit thumbs up, and then hit live chat. You won't lose your place for the live stream, I promise. #2 warrior is Sheila saying, sup, buttercups. #3 warrior is Scorpion saying Satan's last dance with Trump and Netanyahu doing the cha-cha. Yeah, I can see that happening. Boots then chimes in, appreciate you all being here. All right. All night long. Then Claire, #5 warrior, says hi. And I believe, and I think that's it. Yeah, guys, how is it going? Ooh, I like that, Claire. Claire says, the ballroom. You guys, it's almost as if you've been listening to me in my show. I've taught you well, Kimosabi. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much. God bless you all. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. Let's get into the shitty
breakings with your host, James Garner, offering shitty opinion.
Yeah, my shitty opinion. Still trying to play around with all this shit. So, Trump raises tariffs on Canadian goods in response to the Reagan advertisement. Apparently, Canada did a little video of Reagan saying tariffs are no good, and maybe they are temporarily, and then Trump had a little hissy fit and raised the entire Canada 10%, which doesn't affect Canada. It affects Americans. So, we have to pay the 10%. So every time when Canada or other countries start screwing with us, they're hurting Americans. So stop hurting Americans. But I guess that's what they want to do. Trump's Asia tour deals diplomacy and a meeting with Xi Jinping. Apparently, Trump needs to meet with him to get everything back into play. I don't understand the whole thing, but, whatever. It looks like they are completely just ruining America's economy so that they can get the dollar at around the same value of the yuan and the same value of the pound, same value of the ruble, same value of the Canada and UK dollar. All of that on purpose so that they can switch us out to the CBDC. That's just my opinion. The White House movie theater demolition ends a storied era in presidential blah, blah, blah. Who gives a shit? And Hurricane Melissa forecast, catastrophic danger for Jamaica and Haiti. When is it never catastrophic danger every year for Jamaica and Haiti? I think it's about time they start building brick houses and brick hotels in these places, because every year there is a hurricane that the powers that be create to destroy so they can go in there and build, make money. Well, they're not going to build with brick. that'll withstand a hurricane. No, they're going to build with cheap shit so it gets knocked over so that they could go back in and build again. So you see, that's capitalism 101. The mysterious billionaire and Trump backer who gave $130 million to support one base salary. Who gives a shit? U.S. and China kicks off trade talks ahead of the high-stakes Trump-Xi summit. Oh, my God. It's just, who gives a shit? So, yeah. Kamala Harris suggests she is considering another presidential run. Wow. Talk about a fucked up person to run for the left. If the left wants any chance of winning, Kamala Harris is not the one. I mean, everyone knows her as the Monica Lewinsky of politics and how she got her way up to the top. And everyone also knows her as the woman who jailed more people for little tiny offenses just so she can make a buck off of the capitalist prisons. Yeah, that's what she did. And she didn't have a chance against Trump. Why is she doing this again? I think probably just to raise some money because she's broke. That's my best guess. Trump slams reports that he plans to name the White House Ballroom after himself. Well, that's just fake news. Well, it wouldn't surprise me. He turns around and just says, yeah, we're going to call it the Trump Ballroom. And Trump arrives in Malaysia to witness signing of Thailand-Cambodia peace deal where apparently he did it. I don't know. Like I could give a shit. Lavauer heist being investigated as an inside job with security guard eyed in landmark robbery. Well, if you know who it is, go get him. I say let the security guard keep the jewels. 2 killed, 7 in critical condition in North Carolina mass shooting. Another one. We just happen to have them every day now. They really are going after our guns. They don't want us to own guns. They want us to think that guns are responsible and not, or have anything to do with psychological, issues. But it's the guns. Multiple people shot in Lincoln University in Pennsylvania, Chester County District Attorney said. Boom, boom, pew, pew. You know what? Take the guns. Fuck it. I don't care. You're not going to hurt me. But it sure will hurt all of those who don't believe in God because it's going to fall right back in their face. And the elite know this. This is their job. This is what they do. They make sure these shootings happen. Now, I don't have proof, but I do know MK Ultra created a bunch of sleeper cells where there's people who have been conditioned and had their personality split, and if they hear a key word, they will go kill people. That's what's happening. I don't believe in all the other bullshit. So I hope you don't either. All right, guys, that's the end of shitty breaking news. We're going to go to a quick commercial. When we get back, we're going to be talking about Trump's White House Ballroom, or Ballroom, ritual revelation and the final dance of Babylon. We're going to get right down to how this is satanic.
Do you have tax burdens? Do you carry personal liability? If so, let me tell you why you have tax burdens and personal liability. And if you stick with me until the end, I'll share a simple solution to reduce the burdens you carry. When you put assets in your name, you also carry the liability. And by setting up a corporation, LLC, or partnership, you also carry the liability for the share of ownership you have in these organizations. So when you receive a W-2 form, 1099, or K-1 at the end of each year, that shows your liability for the assets you have carried in your name or your business name. The flow of liability works this way. You get a job, you take money in your name. When you are a contractor, you take money in your name. When you begin a business, you take money in the business name, which is set up with you as the owner. Nelson Rockefeller quoted, "The secret to success is to own nothing but control everything." He said this because when you own something in your name, you also own the liabilities. Introducing the solution, Begin an unincorporated association and remove assets out of your name while remaining in control and management of them. An unincorporated association is a state-registered entity that you can put assets into, is member-based and not tied to your name, has a tax-exempt EIN number, is private and not found when doing an online search. Whether you receive a 1099 or K1 under your name, consider setting up your own unincorporated association and allow the association to be the owner of your assets and free yourself from the burden of personal liability. P.S. Join our affiliate program and receive payment for referrals.
All right, we're back to the show. Looking forward to it. This is interesting stuff. I believe I'm excited about this. Good to have you guys here. God bless you. And happy Cause Before Symptom Day. So they say Trump's bringing back elegance. That's what they're saying. Oh my God, it's elegant. This ballroom, which makes no fucking sense. Nobody goes to balls anymore. Only the rich and powerful, insane, psychotic elite who dance in ballrooms wearing powdered wigs. But that's a ballroom, or they actually say that a ballroom will restore grace. That's what they're saying, to the people's house, right? Dancing? No. This is a ritual. But this isn't about dancing, guys. This is about dominion. And for the first time in U.S. history, a ballroom will be installed in the White House. First time in history. You know, during the time that ballrooms were popular, the White House didn't have one. And now they're putting a ballroom in there. It's fucking crazy. First time in history. And not just adjacent to power, but within it. Now, to the casual eye, it's an upgrade. To the initiated, it's a signal. Because in the esoteric tradition, a ballroom is not just a hall, it is a temple. It's a ritual chamber. A mirror of heaven placed in the seat of early power. I'm telling you. Every throne has a court. Every king has a palace. Every empire, before its final transformation, builds a room of mirrors where the chosen ones gather and the watchers bear witness. Versailles had one. So did Nero. And now Washington, D.C. Now, this is not a return to old America. This is the unveiling of something new. This is a sign that you're supposed to be looking at right now. And perhaps this is something ancient being reborn. That's right, Scorpion. Eyes wide shut vibes. Ballrooms are where masks are worn and removed, where alliances are sealed without paper, where the choreography of power unfolds as a ritual. Every reflective surface in a ballroom echoes the Hermetic maxim, as above, so below. That's a Baphomet term. Satan. Or, I think George Washington did it, and even Jefferson and Adams, they all did paintings with them doing that shit. It's a ritual. And the elite understand this. They know this. And they're not saying, hey, Trump's getting back the country for the people. They're saying, we're continuing on as planned. But we're going to make it even more satanic. Architecture, guys. Architecture is magic carved in marble. Geometry is invocation to the demonic, and space within us, within the walls, is spellcraft. Okay, they're creating a place to perform rituals on those who attend. And Trump, knowingly or not, he knows, is building a throne room inside the throne. It will not be used for dancing alone. It will host announcements. It'll be used for crowning moments, perhaps even betrayals. It will shimmer with gold and echo with laughter, but behind it all, a deep liturgy will play out. Now, you guys remember when I showed you that the old temples, cathedrals, and castles were all ancient computers. The software was the chance to activate the demons, to turn on commands for the demons to do the work. Computers are nothing more than shrunken down cathedrals, temples, towers of satanic ritual. And now Trump is building one right at the White House. Just as Daniel stood outside Belshazzar's banquet hall, you guys remember that in the Bible? Watching the final feast of Babylon. Well, we now stand at the gates of a new kind of gathering, where power dresses itself not in robes, but in mirrors and chandeliers, where the king does not ask for a vote, but for allegiance. So as the Ballroom arises, I love that, Claire, thank you, within the heart of the empire, the question is no longer what is actually being built. No. The real question is who is being revealed. Okay? It's not being built for mankind. It's being built for someone coming that's going to dance there, a king. The devil. I'm sorry, but that's what it's for. It's not for Ivanka or whoever, Ivana. I don't know. I don't care about Trump's people or his children. It's not for Trump and his family. Now, when Trump proposes, and now I want to play this every time I say Trump, because that's exactly what I think of when he's doing his work. He's just a troll and a what do you call those? The munchkin. He's a munchkin from The Wizard of Oz. Literally, Trump is. And when Trump proposes a ballroom inside the White House, he is not simply adding an entertainment space. He is initiating a transformation of the very spatial theology of the executive branch. From an esoteric lens, the inclusion of a ballroom is nothing less than the placement of a ritual axis. It's a ceremonial center designed to host not just gatherings, but symbolic enthronements. Architecture becomes liturgy when placed in the right hands, or the wrong ones. Now, according to Peter Blundell Jones, in his book, Architecture and Ritual, sacred spaces have always functioned as containers of orchestrated experience, where the movement through a room reflects an inner initiation. The ballroom, historically, is not just a place to dance. It is the stage upon which social hierarchies are confirmed. Masks are worn and removed, and rulers are revealed in majesty. Now, Versailles was not just a palace, it was a living ritual machine. I wrote a book about the ritual machine. You can download it on my website, jamescarner.com. Designed to glorify the king through performance, procession, and reflection. The new White House ballroom risks becoming America's Versailles. This chamber, shaped by symmetry, echo, and grandeur, is esoterically configured to host not policy, but performance. Every architectural line aligns with ancient ritual practice. The square or rectangle provides the Masonic foundation, and the dome or vault overhead mimics the celestial sphere. The center, open, polished, waiting, is the axis mundi, the world navel, where heaven and earth symbolically meet. Now, in Kabbalah, this is called Teferet, the heart of the tree. In alchemy, it is the retort where base matter is transmuted into gold. Thus, we're entering into the golden age. This is why sound and light matter a lot. The ballroom is acoustically tuned like a church. Its resonance isn't accidental either. Voices lifted there carry authority, not merely by law, but by symbolic vibration. From the earliest mystery schools in Egypt to Ulysses to Freemasonic temples and esoteric societies chronicled by Daniel Pineda in his book, The Book of Secrets. Sound has always been a conduit between planes, different planes of existence. It is how pronouncements become living words. A ballroom with elevated ceilings, vaulted acoustics, and a circular dance floor is not neutral. It is a chamber for enchantment, where declarations echo like spells. And what follows is light. The chandeliers, inevitably in this kind of room, are terrestrial stars, refracting and cascading beams of controlled brilliance. As Manly P. Hall explains in his book, The Secret Teachings of All Ages, light is one of the 5 primary symbols of divine consciousness, and mirrored light as ritual chambers reflects both the illumination of the adept and the vanity of the profane. The presence of gold, which there's going to be a lot of it, and probably mica, and crystals, and all kinds of things like mercury and water to trap people's breath. The presence of gold on walls, fixtures, or adornments further invokes the solar archetype, the king, the logos, the Christ force. But in the beast system, this can actually be inverted. The gold becomes a false sun, a Luciferian mirror. In Byzantine architecture, as noted by Nicholas Patricios, in the second architecture of Byzantium, royal chambers were often oriented towards liturgical procession, which means the emperor's proximity to the altar was not symbolic, it was the declaration of divine right. In this new ballroom, mirrors and layout, Trump, or whoever occupies that space, will stand in the ritual seat of enthronement, not just political authority. Now, the room shaped like a chalice, becomes the grail through which power is poured. And this is the final key. Space precedes speech. Once a ballroom is actually built, what is spoken in it becomes ritualized by design. The declaration of candidacy becomes coronation. The fundraising gala becomes convocation. And the inaugural ball becomes an initiation rite. The White House is no longer just a residence, it becomes a temple of the empire. And the one who dances in the center of that mirror-lined hall no longer speaks to the people, but through them, as one possessed by destiny or delusion. Let me break this down in simple terms. This ballroom is going to be highly, highly magical. And not the magical as in wondrous dreams and children. Well, they're probably going to sacrifice a bunch of those below it anyway. You know how they go. That's just the Luciferian way. But when I say magic, I'm talking about full-on 100% black magic. And anyone who enters the ballroom is going to be under the spell of the king, whoever that king is, and is going to be designed that way so that any leaders from around the world enter that ballroom, they're going to be suspect to getting spells cast on them. Now, let this be a warning to all of the other countries who visit the White House and are invited to go inside the ballroom and dance with the king and his queen. Be careful. You could fall for their spell. And this is the installation of ritual kingship within the Republic. This kind of stuff has been done throughout all the ages, especially during the Dark Ages, where every castle had a ballroom. And that's what they were for. They were for bringing in the local leaders and seducing them. Scorpion saying, so you're saying we're going to see the AC. Maybe not the AC, but an AC. As Jesus said, many are going to come. Many antichrists will show up. But what they're building is they're going back. They're going back to their roots. This is the Orsini clan going back to their roots and getting back their alchemy, which they pretty much dropped the ball on. 250 years ago, the Orsini clan were the #1 alchemist family. Well, China beat them through technology. And the Orsini family wasn't paying attention to the Bush family as they were slowly integrating China and Russia propaganda into America. But this is the installation of ritual kingship within the Republic and theocratic performance within democratic structure and a beast throne beneath a golden chandelier. That's what it is. Now, America has never seen a White House like this, and maybe it was never supposed to. Well, the construction has already begun. Within esoteric architecture, few elements are more charged than mirrors and gold. Remember, I did the research on 3,000 esoteric books, everything from black magic to white magic to Enochian magic, Sumerian magic, Egyptian magic. I think I have an idea as to what Trump is building. Esoteric architecture. They're going back to their old roots and old ways of controlling people because they're losing through technology. Now, within this esoteric architecture, few elements are more charged than mirrors and gold, and together, mirrors and gold, they form the ritual logic of the ballroom. Now, these materials aren't just ornamental, they are symbolic conductors. used to amplify, reflect, and distort light in a way that reenacts the Hermetic principle. As above, so below. As within, so without. This isn't poetic, folks. It's operational. It's how secret societies, alchemists, and royal engineers have shaped sacred space for millennia. And now those same forces appear to be at work in the White House. Now, mirrors in occult tradition are not passive. They are portals, gateways between planes of existence. According to Herbert Silberer in his book, Hidden Symbolism of Alchemy and the Occult Arts, mirrors are alchemical because they reverse and reflect, forcing the initiate to confront the inner image. That's scary. The self as both God and shadow. In ritual chambers, mirrors multiply presence. Can you believe that? I'm staring out my window and it's freaking snowing. It's October in Central Oregon and big snowflakes. It's not it's melting on the ground, but it's snowing outside. Good God. Well, that's what happens when you play with the devil. See, in ritual chambers, mirrors multiply presence. They fracture identity. Okay? While simultaneously exalting it. Now, when a king enters a mirrored hall, he is no longer one man. He is legion. He's got demons. And his image, multiplied across infinite planes, becomes archetypal. He is no longer simply Trump. He is the image of kingship itself. If Trump is the beast. The divine masculine refracted into political form. But the danger here is the same as, or that Lucifer actually faced. To stand surrounded by mirrors is to risk believing that the image is the essence. The ballroom becomes a temple, not of reflection, but a narcissus, which is the sacred replacement by spectacle. So this is the inversion of initiation. Instead of entering the temple to be stripped of ego, one enters to be defiled by one's own image. And the sacred becomes self-worship. Yeah. This is black magic. Then comes the gold. In both Eastern and Western esoteric traditions, gold is more than wealth. It is the perfected metal. Now, in alchemy, we've talked about alchemy many times on the show. In its final stage, which is called rubido, the solar conclusion to the magnum opus. Have you ever heard of it? Well, in ancient temples, gold was not added last. It was designed as the symbol of completion. The gold leaf on Byzantine domes and royal thrones symbolized the descent of divine presence into matter. But as Manly P. Hall warns, who was a Satanist, when gold is used without wisdom, when it decorates instead of consecrates, it becomes the metal of delusion, of Midas. Yeah, that's a god. And of Babylon. And its shine blinds rather than enlightens. Now, in the White House ballroom, these two forces, mirrors and gold, merge to create a ritual field of manifestation. Have you seen it inside of Trump's New York apartment? Mirrors and gold. Yeah. Light enters, it's fractured, and then it bounced, reflected, and projected onto the guests. Now every face becomes gilded. Every gesture becomes theater. And the people's house becomes the people's illusion, orchestrated by architecture. And at the center, the one who commissioned this chamber does not merely attend, he presides. This is the highest function of esoteric space, to shape perception and declare hierarchy without ever speaking a word. The ballroom becomes a living grimoire, where every element is a sigil, every chandelier a star, and every mirrored wall a veiled scrying pool. Let me put it this way. If you guys walked into this ballroom, you would feel the evil. The attendees will believe that they are at a gala, but in truth, they are within a ritual of transformation where America's final form is being unveiled. So this is an unveiling of the king coming. Now, what does the presence of such a room say about the future of the republic? Well, the founders, who were satanic, gave us the Oval Office. It was designed after the Roman apse, a place of solemn command. This new ballroom, however, is not solemn. It is celebratory, seductive, drenched in opulence. It is not for deliberation, it is for coronation. The Hermetic principle has been flipped. As above, Trump is crowned, so below, the nation watches. This is not Babylon. It is the final dance before the curtain falls. That's what it really looks like. Now, the banquet hall has always been more than a place to eat. It is the theater of hierarchy, the altar of indulgence, and in the esoteric tradition, a ritual stage where masks are worn and identities are suspended. The ballroom, when occupied and coupled with a feast or masquerade, becomes the setting for mystery plays, symbolic dramas that conceal deeper power shifts under the guise of celebration. And what happens in such a room is rarely about the event itself. It is about the transformation of participants into willing initiates of a new order. Throughout history, the most critical transitions in empires have been masked in the feasts. Belshazzar's banquet in Babylon featured the golden cups of the temple and ended with a disembodied hand writing doom on the wall. Nero's feasts in Rome were orgiastic distractions while the city burned. Versailles' masked balls weren't just social functions, they were staged dramas reinforcing the divine right of kings and sublimating the populace into aesthetic submission. The Feast of Fools in medieval Europe allowed the inversion of roles, yet always ended with the restoration of the same hierarchy, now more entrenched than ever. In the occult orders documented in Daniel Panita's book, The Book of Secrets, ritual banquets were commonly used to dissolve the ego and initiate rebirth, often through symbolic consumption. Bread and wine, body and blood, light and darkness. These rituals mirrored the Eucharist, but they were not all sacred. Many were inverted, Luciferian. Now, when the ballroom is constructed in the White House, it's going to invite this dual potential. It can host a celebration or democracy, or both, or a masked ritual of imperial ascension under the false light of national unity. And then the costumes. Costumes play a crucial role. In all mystery traditions, Egyptian, Dionysian, Mithraic, Mosaic, the use of costumes were essential to conceal rank and reveal archetype. When everyone is masked, the king walks unnoticed. When the costumes are removed, the hierarchy is reestablished, not by blood, but by those who understand the script. Thus, the uninitiated remain guests while the initiated ascend. Within this new ballroom, one can expect appearances by moguls, military brass, spiritual influencers, and media elites, all cloaked in decorum, yet part of a symbolic retinue orbiting the throne at the center. Now, the architecture supports this. As Peter Blundell-Jones observed in his book, Architecture and Ritual, ritual spaces are designed for controlled entry, scripted movement, and choreographed revelation. The guests will enter through narrow corridors, the birth canal of the rite. They'll emerge into the gleaming chamber of mirrors and be absorbed into the sensory whirl of gold, sound, and ceremony. Their psychological state is then altered, not through coercion, but through aesthetic seduction. And this is the most dangerous form of transformation. As Herbert Silberer noted in his psychoanalytic reading of alchemy, he quotes, "Symbolic feasts often veil the true intention of the operator." In other words, the one who calls the feast may not seek celebration, but transmutation. And the guests become witnesses to an occult rite, unaware that they are fulfilling its power by participating. Oh, they clap. They toast. They affirm, but what they affirm is not liberty. It is a new form of kingship hidden inside democratic language. Trump, if he hosts such a ball, may appear to honor tradition. In truth, he's redefining it. He steps into the ancient role of the banquet king, crowned not by vote, but by symbolic consensus. A messianic figure revealed not in a temple, but in a ballroom lit like heaven itself. The mask then is not worn on the face, it is the face itself. The true priesthood is not robed, it is dressed in Armani and nationalism. And the White House becomes not just an executive residence, but an esoteric court. And the ballroom, its inner sanctum. What appears to the untrained eye as a ballroom glimmering with gold, echoing with music designed for merriment, is, in esoteric architecture, a carefully encoded alchemical chamber. To the initiated, this space functions as a crucible of transformation, a room constructed not merely to host events, but to enact the death and rebirth of sovereign power. This is why they're building the ballroom. Trump is going to use it against his enemies. It's not a metaphor. This is real. They're building it. And it's all ritual engineering, built on principles as old as the Temple of Solomon, as hidden as the Rosicrucian vault, and as bold as the throne rooms of ancient empires. When Nancy Pelosi, if she supposedly hates Trump, if she steps into this ballroom and Trump is the king of the banquet, he'll own her ass spiritually. She won't have her demonic protection as the king of the world invited her and she stepped in. You see, you know the old tale of vampires cannot walk into your house unless you invite them, or even demons, right? Well, if any of these people who hate Trump, and Trump invites you over, you have to be careful of the initiations. Now, in the alchemical tradition, especially as revealed by Manly P. Hall, who was a Freemason, who started the whole thing. Well, he didn't start it all, but he wrote a bunch of books. And he was I don't know if he was 33rd degree, but I think he was Scottish Freemason. But in the secret teaching of all ages, and all the Masons love this guy, the path of initiation possesses through 3 stages: Negrito, which is called blackening; albedo, which is called whitening; and rubedo, called reddening. These correspond to spiritual death, purification, and resurrection into perfected power. In political symbolism, this same triad becomes fall, concealment, and return. The narrative of the rejected king, scorned, persecuted, exiled, who rises again in glory is not just a myth. It is an actual ritual drama repeated through architecture, media, and movement. So all of those who put Trump into prison, tried to, who called him a thief, a con man, a criminal. They're all going to be invited here. And he's going to own them because they will be under one of the most powerful spells known to man. You see, the ballroom is the key where the kings would control their entire country. This is the narrative of the rejected king. He is creating a ballroom to get back at his enemies. And not just get back at them, he is building a ritual to own them. And when I say own them, they will be his slave. Because he was scorned, persecuted, and exiled. And he's rising again in glory after his second term. And it is a ritual drama repeated through architecture, media, and movement. Okay? This is a loop being played, and they're taking advantage of it. Trump is, and his executive team. And they are going after those who literally pissed him off. The ballroom becomes the rubedo chamber. This is the place of revelation. Now, gold is not accidental. It signifies the Red King, the final perfected form of the alchemical process, and the king who has passed through fire and now rules with solar consciousness. Trump's political journey, impeachment, exile, and potential return, fits the esoteric rubric perfectly. So he is cast as the persecuted sovereign whose victory will not come through politics, but through apotheosis. But to complete the cycle, death must be ritualized. Maybe we need to destroy Venezuela. This is where the ballroom becomes a throne of inversion. Just as the black sun of alchemy symbolizes the hidden work within the tomb, where the seed dies before it germinates, so the White House's new ballroom could serve as the ritual space of reanimation. Not physical death, but ego death. Political death. And from it, the return of a new archetype. The architecture here is key. As Blundell Jones in his documents say, ritual architecture always includes 4 traits: enclosure, direction, hierarchy, and transformation. The ballroom's gold leaf ceiling and mirrored paneled walls act as a symbolic firmament, a sky above the celebrants. The layout orients all attention toward the central figure, positioned as axis mundi, the world axis. This is not democratic, it is imperial. A king is coming, conservative. The room is not egalitarian, it is initiatory. Remember when I told you that back in the past where BRICS is going to join the Federal Reserve through the Bank for International Settlements, and they're all going to work under one king? It could very well be Trump, where China, Russia, all of them bow under Trump. I don't think so, but What do I know? I'm just a hick from Oregon. Now, if this room were designed in the tradition of Solomon's temple, it would include measurements tied to sacred geometry, the cube, the circle, the golden ratio. Now, these encode vibrational resonances into the walls, affecting consciousness. Byzantine architects employed domes to channel liturgical sound upward, producing mystical awe. Now, in the new White House ballroom, it's designed similarly, and it could serve as a temple of entrainment, altering perception through symmetry, light, and acoustic precision. The guests are not merely celebrating, they are actually being transformed, aligned to the frequency of the one enthroned. And in this frame, Trump ceases to be a man. He becomes an alchemical symbol, the Red King, rising from chaos. And the ballroom is his philosopher's stone, where the base material, fallen America, is to be purified through his image and voice. But beware, the same architecture that can crown the king can also summon the beast. So when Trump has his first dance in the ballroom and they televise it, look for him wearing red. If he's wearing red, he's the beast. If he's wearing purple, he's the king. King represents dynasty. King represents family. Or not king, but purple. But red, that's summoning the beast. So red or purple, whatever he's wearing, look for it. Now, inverted alchemy leads not to enlightenment, but to the black cult sun. Black cult sun, won't you come? Yeah, the black sun cult, where ego replaces divinity and the resurrected king becomes a false messiah, enthroned in a gilded temple. Now, if this ballroom is built without humility, without divine submission, it will not bring resurrection. It will bring Babylon's fall. So the question is no longer what the room is for, it is what force will actually animate it. Now, in the beginning was the Word. We remember that from the Bible. And in every coronation since, it has been the spoken word, not the sword that seals power. In esoteric architecture, especially in sacred and royal spaces, sound is not incidental. It is central. It is the carrier of intent, the vehicle of enchantment, the medium of transformation. That's right, Claire. Purple rain, R-E-I-G-N. Within a ballroom crafted as a throne room of initiation, the acoustics are weaponized. The walls amplify more than music, they amplify authority. Now, Manly P. Hall taught that in the mystery tradition, speech is ritual. The utterance of a name, a title, or a blessing carries with it vibrational force, an echo that reverberates in both seen and unseen realms. The ancient Egyptian hika, or magic speech, was not metaphorical. It was the spoken release of will. Likewise, when a president or a messianic figure speaks in a ballroom constructed with mirrored geometry and harmonic resonance, the voice becomes liturgical, the speech becomes spell, and the room itself joins in the incantation. They all believe he's God. Now, the ballroom becomes a theater of vibratory agreement, not merely a space for celebration, but a chamber of consent. They're under a spell. Here, applause is not just political support, it's ritual of affirmation. A sonic signature of public will aligning to the speaker's frequency. And this is why sound engineers are consulted in sacred spaces. Cathedrals are not built for sermon alone. They are built so that the voice seems to come from heaven, so that chant lingers in the air like incense. Now imagine this, not for God, but for a political redeemer. Imagine the White House constructed to make one man's voice feel like destiny. Trump's a Freemason. There are pictures of him wearing the garments. In architecture and ritual, voice and setting must agree. As Peter Blundell-Jones notes in his book, Architecture and Ritual, ritual spaces are not neutral backdrops, but participants in the rite, R-I-T-E. And the ballroom ceiling becomes the dome of heaven. The chandeliers, stars, gold leaves, accents, rays of divine authority. And when Trump speaks here, whether in jest, in command, or in prophetic declaration, he will not merely be talking. He will be animating the spell structure of the room. I believe that he's creating this for the tech giants, because the tech giants aren't listening to him, and he doesn't like that. So he's going to put them under an old, ancient ballroom spell to get them to do what he says. Because the tech giants, they don't realize that they're devil worshipers. They don't realize that the gadgets and gizmos of computation, CPUs, and code are just shrunken satanic temple worship. And what is said in this ballroom will matter. But how it is said and where may matter even more. And this brings us to the deeper danger here, the return of the divine right monarch. Not by blood, but by broadcast. Not crowned in the cathedral, but enthroned by the reaction of the crowd. The ballroom with its mirrors and gold becomes a technological temple. It reflects the people's desire to back them up, until they cannot distinguish man from the moment and the king from the echo. And this is the ultimate spell, folks. When a people worship their reflection thinking it's divine, it's letting their guard down and casting a spell into them. Okay? You got to think about this. Trump's going to have many, many dance parties there. Okay? And it's for all of the CEOs that are aligned with China. I can't believe I'm saying this, but if I were Bill Gates and if I were Tim Cook, if I were Jeff Bezos, I would stay the fuck out of that place. Because the Orsinis, man, they're whipping up some old school shit here. And that stuff works. It works. Yep, Scorpion, same thing. Scorpion says hot dog parties, yeah. $30,000 for pizza and hot dogs. Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. Or was it 300,000? I can't remember. Anyway. But there's another path, okay? If humility reigns, if the speaker recognizes that all power is stewarded and not owned, the ballroom can become a place of healing decree, of righteous rule, of alignment with the kingdom of God. Thus, the spell is ours to discern. So, we don't know. But judging by Trump and his actions, this is esoteric and satanic. Now, in esoteric architecture, mirrors are never neutral. They are portals, not merely for light, but for perception, consciousness reflected, fractured, or inverted. And when placed within sacred or sovereign spaces, mirrors function as more than decoration. They are devices of influence, psychic amplifiers, and even ritual guardians. In a White House ballroom lined with mirrors, what is being reflected is not only the guests, but power itself, multiplied and recirculated like a sigil. The ancient initiates knew that mirrors did not simply reflect the viewer, they exposed them. And in Greek mythology, Narcissus is not destroyed by vanity, but by misrecognition. He does not know what he is looking at, and so he worships a false image. And the mirrored ballroom creates a similar dynamic. The people enter and see gold, wealth, grandeur. They see a president, a king, a savior, but the mirror has no opinion. It reflects what it already sees within its gaze. And the ballroom then becomes a cathedral of Narcissus, where the people reflect their longing onto the throne, and the throne reflects that desire back, weaponized like political liturgy. But mirrors are also watchers. In esoteric terms, mirrors have long been used in ritual as gateways. The magician peers into the black mirror not to see himself, but to pierce the veil. In Masonic architecture and Rosicrucian lodge design, mirror placements are intentional, used to trap energies, confuse spirits, or extend perception beyond linear sight. A mirrored ballroom can become a kind of ritual surveillance chamber, where no corner is hidden and where every move is both visible and symbolic. In the context of the White House, already a citadel of global control, the installation of mirrors raises an unsettling possibility. Is this ballroom not only a space of celebration, but of strategic perception manipulation? I would say the latter. The optics of reflection can create illusions of crowd size, grandeur, multiplicity. A room with 100 can feel like 1,000. A solitary speaker multiplied in glass can appear as many-faced, omnipresent, an echo of divine kingship, or, more darkly, of the beast who is and is not and is again. Furthermore, the positioning of the mirrors influences behavior. And when people see themselves watching themselves, they adjust. And the ballroom may induce not only awe, but compliance, a subtle enchantment of self-surveillance. Guests behave as they believe one should in such a holy place, even if the God enthroned is not holy. This is the crown of Narcissus, a feedback loop of admiration that blinds all who gaze into it. Gold walls, crystal chandeliers, endless reflections. The room becomes a living icon, a hall of crowns, not of kings, but of egos. The one who speaks from its center risks becoming not a servant of the people, but a mirror of their collective idolatry. If unchecked, this becomes the ultimate inversion, the people enthroning a shadow, mistaking their reflection for righteousness. This could be when the beast enters, when Satan enters Trump. Could be, if he is the Antichrist. But again, the design can serve good or evil. In righteous hands, the mirrors become tools of clarity, showing the leader his flaws, his mortality, and his call to stewardship. In dark hands, they become narcissistic altars, feeding a hunger that cannot be satisfied, turning a house of governance into a temple of illusion. Now, the question is not how the room looks. It is, who is its high priest and what spirit animates the reflection? Now, at the heart of every empire lies a throne. And every true throne in esoteric architecture is more than a chair. It is a portal of authority, a seat of divine right, and a magnet for principalities. When Trump commissions a ballroom, not in Mar-a-Lago, but inside the White House, it signals not mere vanity, but an initiation of sacred space within the center of global power. This is not about hosting dignitaries. It is about reclaiming the throne of Solomon within the body of Babylon. And the throne of Solomon in biblical tradition was carved from ivory and overlaid with gold, flanked by lions and raised above the people. But beyond physical beauty, it embodied something spiritual, justice fused with wisdom. The king is a mediator between heaven and earth. Esoterically, Solomon's throne became the archetype for all divine rulership, a space where God's will was meant to be made manifest through human agency. Its replication was also dangerous, for in the wrong hands, it becomes not the throne of light, but the abomination of desolation, the throne of the beast. In occult architectural texts, especially those like the sacred architecture of Byzantium and architecture of ritual, we see that imperial buildings all across civilizations, from Constantinople to Versailles, were deliberately designed to mirror the heavenly realm, to echo Solomonic geometry, and to serve as earthly temples of celestial order. The inclusion of grand ballrooms in royal or presidential palaces has always served a dual function: political pageantry for the public and ritual enthronement for the unseen watchers. Now, Trump's ballroom is not just an opulent space, it is a ritual container. Its placement in the White House, the heart of America, and arguably global influence suggests the construction of a new Holy of Holies, one not dedicated to Yahweh or Jesus or the Holy Ghost, but to man's dominion, image, and self-willed kingship. It may become the room where decisions are made in symbolic alignment with heavenly powers or even demonic ones. I'm thinking the latter. Just as Solomon invited foreign wives and idols into the temple precincts, this ballroom could serve, well, as a mirror of apostasy, a place where the golden aesthetic hides the spiritual rot beneath. Yet for those who have eyes to see, the message couldn't be clearer. A temple throne is being prepared. Whether Trump is to be seated upon it or another, whether literal or symbolic, the throne is real. And the fact that it is being installed in the White House points not just to a shift in politics, but to a metaphysical pivot, a coronation ceremony in the court of the world. So this ballroom, guys, is a really, really big deal to the demonic. Now, in the sacred sciences of old world, gold was not wealth. Gold was wisdom, the crystallized sunlight of the divine mind, or the metal of perfection, or incorruptibility, and sacred kingship. See, gold doesn't rust. The only thing that breaks gold down is mercury. They form together, and then you can bring the gold back through certain processes. But mercury, it doesn't eat it up, it just latches onto it. Gold is wisdom. And in the sacred sciences of the old world, gold was not wealth, it was wisdom. The crystallized sunlight of the divine mind, the metal of perfection. Incorruptibility and sacred kingship. Where common metals rust and decay, gold actually endures. Where others absorb corruption, gold reflects only light. And this is why, in all esoteric traditions, gold crowns the head of the initiate king. And why the great work of the alchemists culminated not in treasure, but in transmutation of the soul into solar radiance. Now consider the proposed ballroom in the White House, not merely gilded in aesthetic excess, but soaked in symbolic gold, becomes a national alchemical chamber. Well, its columns, vaults, and mirrors are not random flourishes. They're ritual elements, aligned like the alembics of the philosopher's furnace. In this chapter, the base elements of political power, chaos, division, populism, and spectacle are drawn inward, purified, and reborn into something more ancient and mythic. Kingship by solar rite. Trump, already a figure of mythic polarity, steps into this crucible not as a president, but as an embryonic emperor. As gold surrounds him, because gold signifies his claimed transformation from man to myth, from elected leader to anointed redeemer. And the ballroom becomes a stage for, well, not for democracy, but for revelation. Well, guys, he goes to McDonald's because that's human meat. He's a cannibal. It's not merely for pageantry. It's for alchemical performance, a rite of transfiguration, where the American state is shown to the world as having passed through fire and emerged not as a republic, but as the kingdom. Now, in this, the symbolism is neither accidental nor aesthetic. This has been planned. Manly P. Hall, Freemasonry, Satanist, reminds us that in this mystery school of antiquity, the philosopher king undergoes both outer enthronement and inner alchemical death, a ritualized ego death that mirrors the crucible's destruction of Dros. The transmutation happens in a temple. The White House becomes that temple, and gold gilded on the ceiling, furniture, trim, and light is the sun metal that reflects not only Trump's ego, but his apotheosis. So he is no longer the man from Queens, he is the golden one, echoing the alchemical Saul, Invictus, and the mythic kings of Atlantis before the flood. So this is echoed in Byzantine sacred architecture, just as noted in the sacred architecture of Byzantium, where royal spaces were saturated in gold, but not for luxury, but really to manifest heaven on earth, to surround the ruler with a light so blinding that his proximity to God could not be questioned. The space becomes an extension of his soul. The soul in turn reflects the divine order. This was the logic of kingship from Egypt to Rome to the Eastern Orthodox world. And it is the unspoken logic of the White House ballroom's resurrection under Trump. But here lies the final tension. Gold is not neutral. In the hands of a righteous king, it becomes a mirror of the Son of Righteousness, S-U-N, Son of Righteousness, a conduit of justice, glory, and divine balance. But in the hands of the beast, gold becomes the idol of mammon. The golden room becomes the golden calf, and those who worship the king mistake radiance for righteousness. The alchemical king must pass through death to be reborn. But what if the fire is not endured? What if the great work is mimicked but not lived? Then the gold is not the symbol of transmutation, but of usurpation. And the one seated in the ballroom is not Solomon restored, but Lucifer enthroned in light, not of his own. You see, the Americans' experiment, guys, then is nearing its final chemical stage through alchemy. And this ballroom may be its furnace. In sacred architecture, movement is never accidental. Every corridor, threshold, and open space is designed not only for access, but for ritual procession, for choreography that mirrors cosmic order. From the slow ascent into Egyptian temples to the geometric circumambulation in Byzantine basilicas. The body in motion was a ritual instrument, channeling alignment between earth and heaven. The same holds true in the White House ballroom's design. Its floors are not just a surface for entertainment, but a stage for symbolic enactment, or a dance of dominion. Historically, the ballroom was the secular twin of the throne room, echoing the sacred geometries of cathedrals and Solomonic temples. In courts from Versailles to Vienna, dance was never leisure. It was an esoteric script. It was software. It was code. Power, hierarchy, unity, and polarity written in movement. Every waltz, every pivot, every procession was an invocation of celestial order. Reenacting the divine dance between the sun and moon, king and queen, left and right, mercy and severity. And the ritual placement of mirrors and chandeliers created a cascade of fractal reflections, or a hall of infinite recursion, where the boundaries of the physical and metaphysical dissolve. To install a ballroom in the heart of the White House is not merely to restore an architectural feature. It is to install choreography into the nation's executive temple. And it is the place where the American throne falls into ritual motion. And this ballroom becomes a portal space, one that activates unseen dimensions through the collective rhythm of body and spirit. Just as Masonic rites involve processional movement and symbolic gestures, so too will this room become a vessel for ceremonial display, political theater as sacred rite. In occult traditions, believe it or not, mirrored halls are not ornaments. They are amplifiers. The dance performed within such a space, especially beneath golden light, is believed to summon and reflect divine archetypes. Now, Trump's ballroom, then, is not merely about grandeur, but about ritual performances of kingship, about the synchronization of earthly rule with heavenly archetype. So the president becomes the axis mundi, the pivot around which the nation's spiritual compass spins. So this ballroom, guys, is a bad sign that he's up to no good. That he's now got control of America. That he's got control over America and basically have kicked out China and Russia. He's saying, I'm king of the North. I do believe that it's Trump's goal to merge Canada, Mexico, and South America all into one place that he rules, he and his family. I don't know how they're going to do it. But weren't you shocked when you heard that Trump was thinking about annexing Canada? Basically going to force them to join America and then go get Greenland? And all the Q people and the anonymous saying, that's just him just, being Trump, sleight of hand. No, dude, he's serious. And the more they keep fighting him, he continues to win now because he went through the ritual, the actual, the ridicule rituals. You see, in order for you to grow, you are to be ritualized by the Joker. Okay? Every person who rises in Hollywood has to have some sort of event that embarrasses the living crap out of them. And then after that, it seems those stars just rise in fame like crazy. Now, it's either that or they got to kill someone special to them. I believe Donald's done that already. So instead of killing people, they ritualized him, the elites, through all of the lawsuits and calling him a criminal and then convicting him of a crime. So what they're doing there is a dance of, is a satanic pageantry. It's not a dance of democracy. It's a dance of thrones, a choreography of dominion, destiny, and divine alignment. And once this ritual space is activated, it will not easily be undone. I believe it's going to be controlled by principalities, not demons. Now, the addition to or of the ballroom to the White House is not the completion of a design, okay? This is the capstone of a ritual. They've been waiting to build this ballroom for 250 years. It is the capstone of ritual, the ceiling of a temple that has long been used, perhaps unknowingly, as a sanctuary of world rulership. In the esoteric traditions, a capstone is not merely architectural. It is the spiritual finality of intention. It completes the great work. It binds the forces summoned within. It creates closure, but also activation. a functional spiritual engine concealed in form. And just as the pyramid's capstone, long missing, was believed to house the divine eyeball, or just as Solomon's temple was sealed by fire descending from heaven, the ballroom at the heart of the American throne is being prepared for its own sealing. This is backed up by esoteric language. But the sealing is not literal. It is symbolic and spiritual, and it reflects the culmination of centuries of silent infiltration, ritual architecture, and prophetic reversals. When the ballroom is unveiled, when its mirrors gleam and its golden trim shines beneath the light of media and ceremony, a signal will be given that the ritual has concluded and the new phase begins. Now, in this moment, the presidency is no longer a mere office. It becomes the final throne. The last empire, as prophesied, is not a military conquest. It is a ritual enthronement, disguised as politics. The ballroom becomes the finishing piece, the capstone chamber, where sovereignty is not voted but manifested. And no speeches need to name it. No law must declare it. The temple is sealed when the form is complete, and the beast is crowned in silence. Now, esoterically, the use of architecture to anchor spiritual power is ancient. As noted in Architecture and Ritual, this is a book that I read, temples and palaces were designed with thresholds, liminal spaces, and central chambers where the ritual culmination took place. The ballroom, grand, central, reflective, is exactly such a chamber. It is both mirror and mouth. It reflects the power seated in it and speaks it into the world. And who shall stand in that light? Well, if this ballroom is crowned with the presence of gold, mirrors, celestial symmetry, and televised adoration, then it may become not only the center of national ritual, but its altar. And upon this altar, democracy is sacrificed. And in its place, a sacred kingship is resurrected. Not through voting, but by visibility, wealth, myth, and power. In this frame, Trump becomes not the head of a republic, but the high priest of the American temple. The anointed figure, not of law, but of spectacle. Now, the Club of Rome split up the world into 10 regions. And one of those regions just so happened to be North and South America, and it was one region. I believe Trump's going to take it. I could be wrong. And thus the temple is sealed, the ritual is completed, the audience assembled. All that remains is for the last act to begin. Now, another thing to consider about the ballroom is it's not merely a space of gold and mirrors. It is also a sacred diagram etched into the seat of power. It's a ritual architecture built to encode and enact transformation. As explored in the October 2025 podcast called Cosmic Thresholds, this architectural act must be read through its numerology, 88 and 999. Now, the former 88 corresponds to Oboth, in Strong's Concordance meaning water skins, evoking ancient vessels used to hold spiritual breath or wine. In Scripture, Oboth is also a liminal encampment or a threshold location on the edge of Edomite territory, placing it in the symbolic tension between inheritance and temptation, between the journey and the test. Now, the podcast that I heard reveals that the White House's existing East Room held 88 seated guests, or 88 vessels, or nodes. Now, eclipse that by the 999-person ballroom, an architectural ascension framed as a Solomonic enthronement. But 999 is not merely excess, it is the spiritual inversion of 666, the number of the beast, where Solomon built with gold and marble the house 666 talents of tribute, the ballroom too becomes a gilded container for spectacle, power, and judgment. And its dome functions as a kind of plasma eye, likened in the podcast to the mythical gaze of Medusa, whose glance turns the unworthy to stone. Within this metaphor, Trump's ballroom becomes not just a hall, but a testing ground where every ritual dinner, covenantal wedding, or state banquet enacts unseen battles between divine alignment and profane ambition. Through the geometry of space, the energies of choreography, and the resonance of music, the ballroom becomes a circuit. Threshold 88 Obath, to ceremony with 88 wineskins and songs, to judgment 999 Medusa's Iron Dome, inverted to 666. So each movement through this sequence reenacts not just political ceremony, but a deeper spiritual pattern. A test of whether the king ascending the throne is aligned with covenant or cloaked in mimicry. As that podcast concluded, this space may bless or burn depending on what it enthroned. Now, what's funny is while I was writing this, researching, because I want to know what the hell he's doing building a stupid ballroom. And I came across the podcast, and I had my thing already written by the time I listened to it. And I'm like, holy crap, this guy, was on it. So I had to add him. He did great. So I have him in my sources. Now, a ballroom, guys, in closing, is not just a place for dancing. It is a stage. It's a mirror. Okay, it's a throne room cloaked in elegance, but carrying in its symmetry and splendor the weight of ritual space, a consecrated chamber of ceremony. And when that ballroom is placed inside the White House, the most symbolically potent building in the modern world, it becomes more than an addition. It becomes a signal, a spiritual pivot, a liturgical completion of a temple hidden in plain sight. And for centuries, spiritual kingship and civic rulership were united in sacred architecture. Solomon's temple was not just a place of worship, it was a divine governmental center. And Versailles was not just a palace, it was a solar construct built to channel the radiance of Louis the 14th, or the Sun King. And the Byzantine throne rooms were designed as celestial courts, where the emperor, hallowed in gold mosaics, ruled as God's image on earth. Now, in each case, the throne did not stand alone. It stood inside a chamber, a ritual cube, a mirror palace, a sanctum of invocation. This is what Trump's ballroom becomes. Not a venue for galas, but a womb for enthronement. And this room is being positioned, whether knowingly or as a part or of a larger spiritual orchestration, as the capstone of America's transformation. And it mirrors the biblical pattern: a temple built, a throne placed, a king presented. But the question remains, which king? Is it Trump? I don't think so, but I could be wrong. But this is the final riddle, isn't it? So because ritual spaces amplify the one who enters them, a ballroom of golden light lined with mirrors and crowned with chandelier stars magnifies presence. It reflects archetypes. It summons not only admiration, but projection. Mythic energy drawn from collective unconscious depths. And in this space, a man can cease to be a man. He can become a symbol. He can become a living icon or a false messiah. So the ballroom is where the devil is going to enter the body. That's where I believe. In biblical terms, we are witnessing the preparation of a high place. Just as Nebuchadnezzar built an image of gold to be worshipped by the empire, or Herod built his temples to rival gods, this ballroom may become the setting of a counterfeit glory. And it may serve as the new Holy of Holies, only instead of containing the Ark of the Covenant, it holds the ambitions of men, the rituals of kingship, and the appetite of a nation that no longer knows its God. And what began as a republic born in rebellion against kings is now ending as a kingdom in all but name. The Constitution is the parchment. The throne is being prepared. The ritual is near completion. And the one who enters this golden chamber may claim not just power, but destiny. From an esoteric lens, this is the hour of revelation. The veil is parting. The temple is being completed. The king is coming, whether crowned by heaven or by himself. The ballroom is not just a room, guys. It is the capstone, the final architectural rite that seals the sacred geometry of the American beast system. And in this moment, every believer must decide, will we bear witness to the enthronement of man, or will we stand for the sovereignty of God? Because once the mirrors are lit and the ritual begins, the world will not be the same. Thrones are not built without purpose. Temples are not sealed without spirits.
Why do 75% of people feel exhausted all the time? The answer might surprise you. In the 1920s, Standard Oil decided to dive into medicine. They pushed synthetic petroleum into our drugs. Sure, it masked symptoms, but it wrecked our guts. Our good bacteria, which fight off parasites and heavy metals, got wiped out by crude oil. But here's the good news. We can fix this by going back to nature. Introducing Elite Potion, the world's top detox program. It restores your good bacteria by removing toxic threats like aluminum, strontium, barium, and parasites. Imagine feeling energized and alive again. They said there couldn't be a pill that did it all. We invented it. Visit elitepotion.com and reclaim your health from synthetic pharmaceuticals. Your body will thank you.
This has been Cause Before Symptom. I'm your host, James Carner. Tune in tomorrow night when God gives me another revelation to tell you guys all about. God bless you, God keep you, and God thank you for supporting my show. Go to jamescarner.com and sign up to my newsletter. That's the only way I can get a hold of you if I get shut down. Download my free books there. There's 3 of them. They are PDFs. They're all yours. Go to elitepotion.com and sign up for my award-winning detox program of parasites and heavy metals. That's what's killing the temple. And if you could all do me one big favor, if you could all just try to love your neighbor, well, I do believe this world would be a better place. We'll see you guys tomorrow.